What's of both civilian use and military? What's to become a part of the battlefield in war and peace? That would be the UAV, or unmanned aerial vehicle, commonly known as the drone. UAVs are what former Iranian ground force commander Purdastan called the discerning eyes and long arms of the ground force, which have been able to act successfully in their missions and in war games. Magnificent, isn't it? How small do you think its grandchild might get? Well, if the poodle can have descended from the wolf, so the drone has descended from the helicopter. But drones evolved in their own right. They were flown and were significant in the 8-year Iraq-Iran war of the 1980s, shortly after the Islamic Revolution of Iran. Drones evolved to vary, and while they are vital on the battlefield, their civilian use is out to take over the market. The top 12 civilian uses for drones have been listed, from wildlife monitoring to disaster management to fun. Guess which is most popular with the average kid? For more on the grown-up use of drones, stay with me, Leila Faromarzi, on Iran Today. Technocrats tend to set UAVs apart from drones. UAVs are the fixed-wing military version, they say, while drones are civilian with rotating propellers. Their use is interchangeable, however. A third application for drones at large is use for training purposes. UAVs were originally used for missions too dull, dirty, or dangerous for humans. While they originated mostly in military applications, their use is rapidly expanding to various civilian applications. The earliest recorded use of an unmanned aerial vehicle for fighting in war was on July 1849, serving as a balloon carrier. Over a century later, in 2013, at least 50 countries used UAVs as we know them today. Iran, Pakistan, and China, among others, designed and built their own varieties. Mr. Alamuti is one of Iran's many inspiring youths. He set up a startup of his own. How effective was Iranian technology in the drone wars with Daesh in Iraq and Syria?
In Syria, for instance, Daesh terrorists made heavy use of these UAVs, especially for suicide attacks in their terrorist operations. On the other hand, since we have acquired the knowledge to build these drones, Iran's military bought around 100 of them from domestic producers. They are very easy to use and can be fit in a backpack. In a war zone where it is dangerous to send out an air patrol, they were flown up in the air to monitor the area, check the areas of armed conflicts, and transmit valuable information and coordinates of the area back to the headquarters. These drones have a variety of uses, for example, for the firefighters. However, it was put to its optimum use in the fight against Daesh.
The Iranian market at large has a much happier use for drones.
Around 2014 to 2015, drones came out in small sizes with various uses. Iranian filmmakers are among those who immediately realized the value of drone shots. They quickly found fans, and before long, wedding filmmakers became the biggest buyers of the drones in Iran.
To get definitions out of the way before proceeding, a standard description goes: a UAV is an aircraft without a human pilot aboard. UAVs are a component of an unmanned aircraft system, UAS, which include a UAV, a ground-based controller, and a system of communications between the two. The flight of UAVs may operate with various degrees of autonomy, either under remote control by a human operator or autonomously by onboard computers. Through the 1990s, the US Air Force used the term Remotely Piloted Vehicle, RPV, to refer to retired fighter aircraft adapted to be capable of being flown remotely, mostly to serve as aerial targets for various purposes. The term drone tended to be applied to smaller aircraft designed from the start to be flown remotely or to autonomously follow a pre-programmed flight, like the Ryan AQM-34G and other members of its family tree. What's a matter of life and death to Iran, that's the vital military use, comprises spotting the enemy and directly reporting its whereabouts, and even targeting the enemy. That can be done by suicidal drones or ones armed to attack. The latter is the later use in Iran as the country has evolved drone technology. Someone I'd like to interview again who sounds like he likes a challenge. Here's his account.
پهپاد هم کار پشتیبانی میکنه هم کار تهاجمی انجام میده.
Drones have a variety of uses in supporting, attacking and reconnaissance operations. In terms of the production of wild drones, we are one of the top countries in the world. During the Iraq-Iran war, we managed to mount rockets on our drones. When it comes to range, drones fall into 4 categories: low range, short range, medium range and long range.
What kinds of military drones does Iran have?
Iran has proudly manufactured and successfully tested all the 4 types and is ready to use them in different operations, from 10 km to over 1700 km. We are able to mount smart bombs on them. Last year, Iran revealed its drone Mohajer 6, which is equipped with the technology of smart precision bombing. This helps us, especially when we are targeting the enemy's strongholds, which are adjacent to civilians living areas.
2014 saw Iran's army's ground force utilize a type of suicide drone in a large-scale military exercise for the first time. Engineers pack a drone with explosives that will detonate as the drone crashes into the target. In 2016, the Army ground force unveiled another drone used for jamming and deception operations in electronic warfare. And finally, missiles are being fixed under UAV wings to fire after sensors locate targets.
قبل از اجرای عملیات نظامی‌ها میگن اول اطلاعات.
Information gathering always comes before any military operations. You need to have detailed information on the enemy's position, equipment and the like before launching an attack. Therefore, a big family of the drones that are used worldwide is specifically manufactured for reconnaissance operations. They take pictures, record videos, and at the same time send them to the operation headquarters. Iran is a pioneering country in this field as well.
پهپادهای جمع‌آوری اطلاعات و شناسایی هم پهپادهای پیشرفته و محموله‌های خیلی پیشرفته‌ای داریم.
In other words, a civilian camp next door couldn't have been hit instead of the terror camp, contrary to conflicting reports.
اون تصویر هم پهپاد گرفته بود، یعنی حمله موشکی بود اما جمع‌آوری
I need to mention that our drones were present in the area filming the missile attack simultaneously. Later on we carried out a damage assessment and we have all the details and information. So I categorically deny the claim that Iran's missile attack against the KDP has killed civilians. Images are available. We had the picture of the building before and after the attack. These unfounded claims are made by our enemies who resent Iran's growth and success. We conducted the same precision bombing in Syria's Deir ez-Zor against Daesh's stronghold as well.
It comes as a relief that in spite of world isolation after US demonizing of Iran, that Iran is a drone power. That is one reason why the country is still safe in a region racked by US rockets and US-backed terror groups. I'm going to have a chat with Ropco Startup, a UAV company. Let's go get a feel of what's going on in the field, hands-on. Salam.
بله این پرنده دلتا هستش که This is the Delta unmanned aerial vehicle, which has been manufactured by Iranian engineers from scratch. I may add that there are some parts in this drone which have been imported from foreign countries because they are not worth producing domestically. It is equipped with a 2-horsepower 2-stroke engine which runs on fuel. Its avionic pieces have been placed in the center. This drone has the shape of a triangle which decreases the area of contact and the interaction between air and the body of the drone.
It's the design which awards a model stability, which is what sets it apart. Say the Robin tracking drone enjoys a 3-horsepower motor, unlike the military Delta with a double-horsepower motor. But that doesn't award it superiority over the Delta. But who are the people making either?
شرکت خصوصی خب عمدتاً شرکت دانش بنیانن که خب متشکل از
We owe our improvement in the field of drone manufacturing to our private knowledge-based companies which are run by our young engineers and university students. Elite university students have come together from different parts of the country and helped improve the country's defense system. These companies, compared to big industries, are independent, not a burden on the back for the government. They don't face as many limitations as the big estate companies face. As a result, they can progress faster because they are free to make as many changes as needed without having to respond to anyone.
راحت‌تر نسبت به مسائل دیگه بخوان یه وقت تغییری تو طراحی انجام بدن.
Time for a short break. We'll be back in no time.
The seed of instability and dissent, long planted by Western powers, is now being watered. And the Ahvaz military parade last month could have used a well-operated drone or two to spot and stop the Al-Ahwazi terrorists. Ahvaz is a city in southwestern Iran.
The UAVs are manufactured with high precision, so the coefficient of error is so small, around 10%. But the problem is that the forces do not take training courses seriously. They care less about education. And if drones were used in the Ahwaz military parade, I think that they wouldn't fail. They could be of big assistance. The provider companies assure the purchasers that these drones never crash, should the operators be careful not to make a mistake.
So what are some examples of this specimen of human genius and robotic efficiency, the UAV, that Iran has boasted over the years? The Sadr UAV displayed 3 years ago is one example. Its flight ceiling is 15,000 feet or 4,500 meters. It operates with a velocity or speed of 200 kilometers per hour, a mass of 242 kilograms, 6 hours flight endurance, and an operational radius of 200 kilometers. Mohajer 6 is the Mohajer family blueprint metamorphosed. To achieve this model, Iranian defense experts seem to have localized one of Europe's best tactical UAVs, the Falco. Less than a year ago was the inauguration of the mass production of Mohajer 6 UAVs. This put Iran's long-range UAVs at 3. The 2,000-kilometer thrust threesome comprises the Shahed, Fotros, and Mohajer 6. Other military drones with different ranges and the ability for stealth operations are Simorgh, Shahed 129, and Saegheh, Lightning, which can detonate 4 different targets with precision-guided bombs. Not to forget the Hamaseh, which weighs 414 kilograms and can carry sensors and missiles. It can remain airborne for 11 hours with a maximum flight distance or peak thrust of 200 kilometers. Let's have a look at other media outlets before going on. So what do other media outlets have to say? War is boring. Says like it or not, Iran is a drone power. Sanctions have not stopped Tehran's robot development. The story of Iran's drone development isn't the underdog tale of scrappy Iranian engineers scrambling to catch up with the United States, as the gods so often claim. Instead, it's the story of Iran's military prudently developing UAVs that are just good enough and progressively improving successful designs. Next is the Military Times. Iran fires ballistic missiles at Syria militants. Pentagon says coalition troops were at risk. While no coalition forces were harmed, we are still assessing the strike, and given the complex nature of the battle space, such strikes potentially jeopardize the forces who are actively fighting ISIS in Syria, Robertson told Military Times. Firing any missiles through uncoordinated airspace is a threat to civil and military aviation. Next is army recognition. Iran uses drones and missiles in cross-border attack on enemies in Syria. Iran has developed Simorgh into a class of drones with reconnaissance, surveillance, combat, and bombing capabilities. Simorgh drones are equipped with an autopilot capability that brings them back to their airbase if operators lose control or are disconnected from the pilotless aircraft. Last is the Atlantic Council. The hidden message of Iran's Syria strikes, a view from Israel. The U.S. military spokesman of the coalition forces in Syria confirmed that his forces were in no danger during the strikes, which took place only miles, 5 kilometers from the U.S. position. The Iranians succeeded in walking a very tight rope without tearing it. Iran's come a long way since its early days of dabbling in drone technology. While Iran's capability is largely lauded today, it received its fair share of criticism for its limitations as recently as 2014. But even then, even with export control laws, multilateral agreements and international sanctions, Iran's drone capabilities were appreciated as good enough and therefore hazardous to anyone posing a threat to its security. Iran Aircraft Manufacturing Industrial Company, Quds Aviation have all been subjected to sanctions. The Sarghe, which translates as lightning or thunderbolt, is a model that caught the eye of the Jerusalem Post. Unveiled in 2016, a 2018 edition of the online newspaper dedicated a headline to it, concluding it is based on the US RQ-170 stealth drone, which was taken control of and landed by Iranian forces in 2011. The headline read, "The Iranian Drone. When advanced technology comes back to bite us." Iran has devised unique methods by combining its expertise in the drone industry with asymmetrical war tactics. This was said by Brigadier General Amirali Hajizadeh, IRGC Aerospace Force Commander. Let's hear more from Mr. Alamuti, who specializes mostly in civilian use of the technology. Non-military drone use in Iran is said to be doubling every month.
We
carried out an operation related to a clogged pipe in Kerman Steel Industries Company. We were the first group which conducted an operation of remote sensing in Tehran's Milad Tower. There are also many companies which give services of the sort in the city of Asaluya in Iran's Bushehr province. Air Drone Craze lists the top 12 non-military uses for drones. That is, journalism, filming and aerial photography, shipping or delivery, disaster management, search and rescue or healthcare, geographic mapping, structural safety inspections, precision agriculture, wildlife monitoring or monitoring poachers, law enforcement and border patrol, construction sites, storm tracking or forecasting, and fun. Extensive research on drones began over a decade ago in Iran. But construction of military zones began as early as the first year of the revolution, that's 1979. Now, a drone might be a single product, but many a science goes into its making. Professor Nobahari made a mention of those sciences when I met him at Sharif University, where he's a member of the scientific board. What fields of science are employed from start to finish in making to flying a drone or UAV?
تقریبا میشه گفت که
We can safely assume that in the production of a drone, most of the sciences are involved. Some of these sciences come into the category of aerospace and involve directly in the process of drone manufacturing, and some others help it indirectly. The most important of them are the sciences of aerodynamics, materials and structures, and propulsion.
While drone wars are saved for foes, the drone race is sport among friends or domestic rivals. To keep the industry dynamic, Iran has held several competitions between different universities, and Iranian companies have participated in international exhibitions in both military and non-military branches.
How effective have university competitions been in advancing research in the field?
Every year we hold competitions among school and university students in different fields, from balloons and airships to airplanes and helicopters. We hold these competitions in the Sharif University of Technology and the Amir Kabir University of Technology, and also we have RoboCop Iran Open competitions in international exhibitions. Around 1,000 students participate in these events every year. In the past 2 years we have started this new competition called drone racing, in which participants wear special glasses through which they enter the virtual world of racing drones competitions. We also hold training courses in different cities, for example in Iran's southern province of Bushehr, in which we hold 20 robotics classes at different levels.
Some successful companies in manufacturing localized drones, which were not mentioned above, are Fateh Asaman Sharif, Asaman Sanat and Fornas. Delivery drones or drones for shipping is an upcoming or evolving trend. An Iranian company has managed to make a drone capable of transporting 56 kilograms.
Do you think the people would welcome drones into their everyday lives?
The primary reason for the development of drones is for military purposes. Its first use in Iran goes back to 1984 during the Iraq-Iran War. In Iran, drones were solely used for military purposes until the year 1991. But today, the non-military use of the drones has grown abundantly, as much as the ordinary people have easy access to them too. Today in Iran, they are used in farming, spraying pesticides, remote sensing, reconnaissance, filming, mineral exploration, firefighting, and many others. Last year, we managed to save 200 billion Iranian rials by using drones for remote sensing and spraying pesticides in Iran's northwestern Mogham plain.
In general, UAVs and/or drones have great potential for detecting aerial targets given their considerable flight endurance and duration, radar surface, small dimensions, and the ability to carry various sensors. Also, their flight capabilities and characteristics, which make them a serious challenge to modern-day fighter planes, are incentive for prominent drone makers in the world to plan to employ drones for aerial or air-to-air combat. A very recent account of UAV use in the news has been that Iran's Revolutionary Guard launched 6 ballistic missiles as well as drone bombers toward eastern Syria, targeting militants it blamed for an attack on the military parade in September 2018. It's time for your comments now. Let's have a look at what you've said regarding our last show on social media wars on Iran. That's all for now. Thanks for watching from the whole team. Do tune in again at the same times next week and take a look at our social pages to leave your comments and perhaps topic requests. Bye for now.